So we've got a race in a couple of days. It's only a sprint, but it's still a triathlon. So just taking the bike out for a quick shakedown, make sure nothing's loose, everything's lubricated, everything connects. Seems good so far. I'm wearing these Shokz headphones, and really what I want to talk about here is, do bone conducting headphones really make sense for an athlete, triathlete, runner, cyclist, swimmer? So in the last day or so, I've been trying out all three sports, running, cycling and swimming, with these headphones.
I'm going to try these ones out, cycling and running. And I'm going to try these ones out, swimming. These are bone conducting headphones. How does this whole bone conducting thing work? When you wear headphones, take Apple AirPods or Powerbeats Pro, anything, you've got little speakers that go into your ears that interact through air pressure with your eardrums that then go to the middle ear, and something happens there, and then they go to the inner ear, which converts everything to electrical impulses that your brain hears as sound. With bone conducting headphones, you bypass the outer ear and the middle ear, and you basically take sound straight from vibrations on your skull, which in the case of these Shokz headphones is through these transducers here on each side of my head. These sit here just in front of my ears on, I guess, my cheekbones or maybe the top of my jawbone, and they cause the skull to vibrate. And it's that vibration that's picked up by the inner ear, turned into electrical impulses, which are then received as sound signals by the brain.
So if you're going to wear headphones, these are pretty convenient when you're cycling. They're not covering my ears, there's no wires to mess around with, and they will stream Bluetooth audio as well. So even though I can hear everything around me, I can still, the fact that I'm listening to music, which I guess could be a podcast instead, still feels like more of a distraction away from my my hearing. Now that might just be me, but these aren't in my ears, they're here, they're in front of my ears, the controls are behind my ear here. Even with sunglasses on, even with a helmet on, they're not really in the way, they're not interfering with anything, although there is a bit of noise sometimes when my helmet strap starts to touch the housing. But I'm still reluctant to be using something that is going to distract me from cycling. I'm a bit of a nervous cyclist.
So that was cycling. And like I said in the video, I'm not really comfortable myself with reducing my awareness of everything around me by having sound playing, even if it's not directly in my ears. But I might be alone in that, so let me know what you think in the comments below. Let's have a look now at running.
So they're surprisingly stable when you run with them. I thought this would bounce around a lot, but it's not doing. So they're comfortable, they're lightweight. You don't really feel like you're wearing them. And I can hear the bird song and everything else happening around me while I've got music playing. But here I'm not so sure. I want to be isolated from the sound when I'm running. I'm very rarely on such a busy path that I need to hear what's happening around me. I've never run on the road. So I think really I want to stick to the highest sound quality I can possibly get. And I get that with my Powerbeats Pro. So even though I can see these as a good option, they're not for me.
So that was cycling and running with this pair of headphones. Now, in order to swim, you do have to use a different pair of headphones. That's these ones here, which are called the Shokz OpenSwim. The design is basically the same. It's a titanium thing that goes around the back of the head, and then these transducers sit on top of your ears, or sorry, just in front of your ears. But the real difference here is there is no Bluetooth or Wi-Fi in these. There is no wireless connection at all. This is basically a waterproof, bone-conducting MP3 player. That's what this is, remember those. So if you wanted to stream your Spotify or your Amazon Music or your Apple Music, you can't do that. If you want to stream a podcast or a radio show, you can't do that. All you can do is take your favorite music, convert it into MP3 in whatever way you choose to do that, and then you can download it with a dongle and a USB cable from a computer onto the memory that's built into these. Now, that sounds very archaic, I have to say, and the whole point about wireless connectivity, which we're all getting used to these days, particularly with audio devices, to hear that I've got to plug something into a computer with a USB-A connection and then use a dongle to connect into this, sounds very 2005, doesn't it?
So the first thought is, the sound quality is amazing, but you still get the air bubbles going through your ears, which disturbs the sound. And the second thing I'd say is, when you bring one ear out of the water as you turn to breathe, you do 3 strokes, you breathe, 3 strokes, you breathe. That ear will, the headset on that side will change tone and will change volume, which is only really noticeable because it keeps happening. These are so much better than the Swim Pod that I've used before, which is an old iPod Shuffle that's been waterproofed. The music from that's fantastic, but the earpieces have to seat in your ear and stay there. And there's a lot of cables to mess around with, tucking things into your goggle strap to hold them in place. And inevitably, after a few lengths, they will come out anyway, and then you have to stop your swim and reposition them. The sound quality of this is not as good as that. There's definitely a difference in sound quality, but it's so much less hassle and mucking around than any other system I've ever used. And you still get to have music. It's transformational for what is otherwise, for me, really boring going up and down a pool.
So whichever Shokz headphones you look at, the basic design of all of them is the same. They are basically made of titanium that's plastic covered. They have controls on one or both sides, and then they have these transducers that sit in front of your ears. The old versions and the current versions and the swim versions all basically look and feel and act exactly the same. They don't really weigh anything. They weigh about an ounce or 30 grams, so they don't really weigh anything at all. I was very pleasantly surprised, particularly running and swimming, that this didn't move around too much. I was expecting it to move around with the up-down oscillation of running, and also maybe water pouring over it when I was swimming didn't cause this to move as much as I thought it would. Maybe I just wasn't swimming fast enough. Now, this version of the Shokz I've got here, the titanium, these are obsolete, but the current version of these is called Open Move, Shokz Open Move. They sell for about 80 bucks. I think they're basically the same as this. There is a more premium version, which is now called Shokz Open Run Pro, which apparently have much, much better transducers and much better sound quality than these ones do. So what are the benefits of bone conducting headphones? I'm going to pick the top 3. Firstly, spatial awareness. You can wear these and still be aware of the environment around you, which is really useful for cycling. Secondly, its ability to listen to sound underwater without any of the mucking around you have to do with earbuds or radio transmitters or anything else. Thirdly, it's actually very good for people with damaged hearing, such as damaged eardrums, because it effectively bypasses the eardrum altogether. When it comes to downsides, I'll narrow that down to 3 as well. Firstly is sound leakage. Now, when I had my Finnis Duo all those years ago, everyone in the pool could hear what I was listening to. And it was a few weeks before they actually told me they could hear everything I was listening to. So thanks, guys. So sound leakage was a pretty big issue. These ones, there is still sound leakage. If you were in a library or somewhere else that's quiet, listening to these, people are going to be able to hear in the background what you're listening to, and it's going to be a very tinny, irritating sound. However, this video is not about listening to these things in a library. It's about running and cycling and swimming with them. And in that environment, no one's going to care at all. No one's going to hear it. Sound leakage is not a problem. The second disadvantage is something that some people say they get immediately, and I found was the case after about maybe an hour and a half. You start to get a strange sensation here, and it gets a little bit uncomfortable because your body is not used to vibrations coming in through your skull that's then being transmitted to your ears. And particularly here, you find after a bit of time, or I did, and I'd say about an hour and a half is about the right amount of time, you start to get an odd sensation in the skin in that part of your skull where these things are coming into contact. I wish I could describe it better. I can't. But if you Google it, you'll see some people are irritated the moment they put these on and they can't tolerate them. Thirdly, number 3, the sound quality is just nowhere near as good as regular in-ear earbuds. I know there's some marketing that says they are very, very close. You inherently don't have the same level of bass. You don't have the same level of highs. This is not top-notch audio quality. It's absolutely good enough for working out to, but it is not the sort of quality you'd expect to be listening to on a regular pair of headphones in a regular environment. So I do recommend these, and would I use them going forward? Well, if I start off with the ones for running and cycling, no, I'm not going to use these. And that's not because it's an older version. It would be the same if I had the current version with me as well. For running, I definitely like my Powerbeats Pro. I've been using them for nearly 4 years now. They are sound isolating. They're very discreet. They've been awesome when it comes to sweat proofing and connectivity. I see no reason to change those at all. And when it comes to cycling, I just don't like having anything distracting me from the open road. Now, if I was gravel biking or I was mountain biking, maybe that would be different, but I don't do that. I generally am cycling on the road, and I'm generally looking out for other road users. So I wouldn't actually use these when I'm out cycling. But if you want to use headphones while cycling, these, well, the current version of them, would be an awesome choice because you've still got greater awareness than a pair of headphones. When it comes to swimming, I'm blown away by these. I really am. I was not expecting this. If I compare this to the Finnis Duo, it's a similar technology, but this is light years ahead of what that Finnis Duo stuff was like. If I compare it to some of the old Waterfi devices, which was basically an Apple iPod Shuffle with earbuds that went in your ears, that was so much admin mucking around with cables and earbuds and ear clips and so on. I'd never recommend that. This just goes in the back of your head, switch it on, and you're good to go. Now, the whole thing about MP3 doesn't actually concern me either. Basically, my motivational music is still my motivational music. If I'm going to run with something, I will have the same play mix that I use when I'm out running. I will add to it, and I've added quite a few tracks to it recently, but I very rarely delete something from that mix. So it just grows. And there's maybe 250, 300 songs on there now. So it's quite a big mix. So on shuffle, I don't hear the same song twice very often. My point is, it doesn't actually take much to put an MP3 playlist together and load it up onto the Shokz OpenSwim device and leave it there. I do not expect to be able to listen to downloaded radio programs, podcasts, or audiobooks on this MP3 player, not because of the legalities of how you do that from a rights management perspective, but more the point I was making about the sound coming in and out as I was breathing. With music, you're not listening to the lyrics while you're working out. But if you're listening to a radio show, a podcast, or an audiobook, you need to pay a lot more attention to a lot more of the detail than you would do, say, listening to a song. So for me, I don't really think it's practical to be able to use these headphones swimming, listening to an audiobook. Now, I know people do, and I'm not going to tell you you shouldn't do it. In my experience, I don't think it's what I'm going to be doing. So I will continue to use this. I find swimming extremely tedious, extremely boring. I swim so that I can get on my bike and then run and complete an Ironman triathlon. Now, when I'm swimming in open water, I'm actually quite motivated. I enjoy it. There's a sense of achievement. I don't need music then. But if I'm just going up and down a pool, I need something to motivate me. And I think this is what will do it. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. Look forward to seeing you in the next video.